This will be the first in a series of 3 videos, all pertaining to the same set of assignments. I'm going to go ahead and break this up into 3 videos though, just because for viewing purposes I know a 30-minute YouTube video can be a little bit extreme. So we'll break this up. There'll be 3 practice problems in each of the 3 videos. If you have the companion assignment, I'm going to do the first 3 problems on each page. So we're going to get rolling. So the first problem is 5 and 72 hundredths divided by 2. Now the thing with division with decimals, there's really not a lot to it, to be completely honest. We don't really, as long as our divisor is a whole number, there's not anything we have to do or change. For this particular set of practice problems, the divisor will remain a whole number. We will not divide with a decimal quite yet. So for now, we're just going to kind of ignore our decimal. We're going to pretend that it's not there, and we're just going to treat this as a normal division problem. And so instead of treating this as 5 and 72 hundredths, I'm just going to treat this as 572. All right, so I'm going to do this the way I have always done division. So 2 goes into 5 2 times. 2 times 4, 2 gives me 4. 5 minus 4 gives me 1. I'm going to pull down my 7. 2 goes into 17 8 times. 8 times 2 is 16. 17 minus 16 is 1. Shift up a little bit. Pull down my 2. 2 goes into 12 6 times. 6 times 2 is 12. And I get 0 remainder. Now also for this particular set of practice problems, you will always get a 0 remainder if you have done the computations correctly. If you get to the end and you get a remainder, then you've made some kind of a computation error for this particular set of practice problems. Again, there's a procedure to continue on and how to deal with a remainder, but we're not going to get into that with this particular practice set. All right, so I've done my computation now. Now the last thing I need to do is I need to do something with my decimal. And this is actually very easy because all you're going to do is you're just going to move the decimal and make sure it's lined up, and you're just going to move it right up into the answer column. All right. And this makes sense because 5 and 72 hundredths rounded is about 6. And so 2 will go into 6 3 times. Well, 2 and 86 hundredths is about 3. So you can see kind of how that works. All right. On to number 2. Number 2 is a little bit more lengthy. We have 6,535 and 62 hundredths divided by 9. And I'll probably have to shift up and down as I go because I know I'm not going to have room on the screen for all of the work. Alright, 9 will go into 65 7 times. 7 times 9 is 63. Pull down my 3. 9 goes into 23 twice. Now when you're doing this, it's very important to make sure things stay lined up, especially when you get to that point with the decimal. I have actually not done a great job lining up here, so I'm gonna adjust just a little bit to make sure that I am good and lined up. All right. Nine goes into 55 6 times. Nine goes into 16 once. I'm going to shift down just a little bit so you can see. I realize I'm going to have to shift up and down as I do this, but I want to make sure you see everything. All right, and 9 will go into 72 8 times. And 8 times 9 gives me 72. And so I end up with a 0 remainder. Again, now that I've got my computations finished, all that's left to do is deal with my decimal, and all I'm going to do is just shift my decimal up and put it into my answer. And that's it. You're just lining the decimal up and then putting it in there. There's really, because we're dividing with a whole number, there's really not any other change that we're going to make. All right, last one for this first set. This is again going to be another lengthy one. 5,808 24 hundredths divided by 8. All right. So 8 will go into 58 7 times. Sometimes 8 is 56. Pull down my 0. 8 goes into 20 twice. 8 goes into 48 6 times. Now this is an interesting spot, and I'm kind of glad that I ran into one of these in the practice set. So, and we've done this before, and I know you've seen this before, but just as a refresher, because I know some of you had some questions on this, if I get to a point, whether it's a single digit or double digit, where whatever my divisor is will not go into the number that I'm currently dividing, then all I simply do is put a 0 there. Now, if you want to go through the steps of the process, you can. So 0 times 8 gives me 0, and then I do my subtraction. You can. Or, once you know it's a 0, you can simply just pull down the next number. And I could have just pulled down that next number and written it here, but it's probably a good idea for now. Go ahead and go through the steps of the process. That way you can see, okay, we put a 0 here, 0 times 8 is 0, so that's my 0 here. And then you just continue on as we do with our normal steps. 8 goes into 24 3 times. Sorry, I'm trying to write very small and my expo marker's kind of fat. 3 times 8 gives me 24, and so I get 0 remainder. And again, all I need to do once I've done my computation is I just take my decimal and I shift it right up there. And that's it. And as long as you are making sure things are lined up, you shouldn't really have an issue with making sure your decimal's in the right spot. All right, that is the first 3 on the first page. The next video up will have the next 3 on the next page.